All right, it's been a little while, actually about a year since I have completed this build on the VHR S13. And yeah, it's been really great. In this video, what we're going to talk about, I'll try to keep it short so I don't talk too much, but it's a build overview really quickly and what I recommend doing this swap. And just to cut right to the point, I would recommend this swap. I highly recommend it actually. It's one of the best swaps and the most affordable ones that are still out there in my opinion. It's an easy 300 wheel horsepower or more if you want to go a little crazy with the modifications. I didn't do the ported intake or anything like that, just headers and shorty intakes and tune. And from there, easy 300 wheel horsepower, tons of power throughout the whole entire power band. The torque is like flatlined at 240 torque, and then it peaks at 260 throughout the red line. And yeah, it's been a lot of little things and stuff like that. But overall, I love the VHR, the VQ37 VHR swap. I think it's amazing. I think this is the new S chassis swap in my opinion. You can find the motors for such cheap prices, 1,000, 1,200 bucks, and so they're a dime a dozen, which is great because that means if you tear a motor up, then it's not a huge expensive deal to replace it. And then another benefit is the parts availability. You can go to Rock Auto, you can go to AutoZone, Advance, or wherever you want to go, whatever local part store works for you, and you can buy all kinds of things for this engine because it's a Nissan flagship motor that's been here for a long time. So yeah, just to dive right into the build overview, I'll put some information in like the text in the of this video so that you can see just like a breakout of like what I spent. But the total value, I would say, is about 9,500 bucks is what I spent total on this swap. It is a little pricey, but I think that if you can swap a car turnkey, track ready for under 10 grand in today's market, I think that's an amazing deal. But I do want to share some areas where you could potentially save some money, and maybe if you play your cards right, swap an S chassis or really almost anything with a VHR for 6 to 7K, and I think that would be an absolute steal. Um, for me, I spent about $3,000 altogether on like low mileage engine, transmission, harness, ECUs. Because you have two ECUs, you have the VVL ECU and the regular ECU for the VQ37. I had Hexa Garage do my wiring harness. It's really affordable. It was like $600 or so. It just takes a little while, so like that's if you're not gonna do the swap right away, it's probably the first thing. Just send those harnesses out. Let them get on that if you're gonna pick them for the harness service. I've Hexa motor mounts, the ISR VQ35 swap headers, and the ISR VQ swap Y pipe fits. I had to slightly modify the Y pipe a little bit. It originally fit kinda, but I had to shorten the Y a little bit, so I just minor cuts, re-weld, not a huge deal. But it bolts up now and it fits with a S chassis catback. I have the HKS exhaust on this one. But yeah, opposed from that, I mean, it's just a lot of bolt-on parts. I mean, I've made some custom things. I've made some brackets. I had to spend a little extra money and re-upgrade the radiator. I cheaped out at first. That was my own fault. I bought an eBay radiator and had just like cheap fans, and it wasn't really cutting it. So I went to the Koyo Rad. I retrofitted a OEM 370Z 2012 plus pressure tank, reservoir tank. So I would say I would highly recommend that setup. It works super well, and if you get it up front, it saves money. And then I did the Z1 clutch kit, a little expensive. If I was going to do it again, I don't think I would go that expensive on the clutch. I wasn't a huge fan of their Z1 Gen 1 kit that deleted the CSC delete kit. I would go with probably Z Speed if I was going to do this again, just to have less issues with it. Those pull type slaves are not really good from what I found out, but it's all a learning experience. So the way you can save some money, to answer that question that you've probably been thinking about, is, well, you spent 9,500. how do I do this swap for less and get an even better deal than what you did? And if you have room and space and you have time to look on Copart or Marketplace and find like some form of wrecked or like salvaged in some way 370Z or G37 that's manual, I mean that's the answer. If you have like a little bit of, you can put it in your backyard or whatever you want to do with it, and if you can get that car for, let's say you buy it for 2,500 bucks wrecked or $3,000, you can essentially take what you need from it. And there's a ton of stuff that you can put on eBay, you can sell on Marketplace, you can essentially get all your money back almost. I mean, there's a lot of interior parts like that people that the G the G37 and the 370 guys, they will, they'll buy. I mean, I even did that with some of the parts I had. I sold them on eBay, got 200-300 bucks back here and there, and it was really nice. So you could potentially pay for what you like, buy that car, sell the stuff you don't need, take what you need, harnesses and all that stuff, and throttle pedal, dash harness. You need a little connector from that for the throttle pedal, and yeah, and essentially get a swap for free or extremely cheap. So that would be the way that if I was going to do it again, I would look for a wrecked car, and I would try to save some money on that sense. And then also you can see the motor run. You got a good engine at that point as well. So with that being said, you can then spend about $5,000 to $7,000 on just like hard parts that you need, because you'll definitely need a lot. I mean, with the fuel system, uh, there's some folks that offer kits. Um, it's really simple, in my opinion. I built my own fuel system. I used high quality push lock AN fittings, and I used some crimp connections as well. Um, and I didn't spend a whole lot of money to do that. Like, about a DW fuel regulator, um, fuel pressure regulator, and then I just put my fuel pump on a relay and everything, and it starts with the key. And there's some stuff like ECU board that I built, but it was just cheap stuff. A piece of ABS plastic from Amazon, and put some rib nuts in it, and just took some measurements and mounted the ECUs to that. So I had to leave the glove box to fit that up, but it looks really nice, and keeps the ECU wiring up and out of the way to where like it doesn't have to be like worried about water leaking, or because these old cars, they're not fully sealed anymore. I would imagine for they definitely leak a little bit here and there when it rains, but yeah, it's a really good swap. So I'll put some information of just the breakout on the bottom of this video description so that you can just look, expect about, this is what I paid. I mean, the prices unfortunately probably are going to climb a little bit here, because just with like inflation and stuff, things seem to get more expensive. So um, some parts might be a little bit more than what I paid at the time, but I think it's not been super long since it's been a year. So yeah, and there's some things also like where I wouldn't necessarily think you need to spend the money on. Like, one of the examples to that is of like a baffled oil pan. I bought the Z1 baffled oil pan. It was like 500 bucks. It's really expensive, and it's cool and all. But what I learned is that it hangs super low, and I had to get a high clearance sway bar to go around it. So I had to spend extra money on that. And then, to be honest, I mean, the oil temps stay good. It has extra cooling. It's great. Like, it's good function, but it hangs low. You can't lower the car as much. So if I was going to do it again, and even with that, I would recommend doing a um, just stock pan, and just put a good oil cooler on it, maybe like a 25, at least 25 or 30 row cooler, and relocate the oil filter housing as well, so you can change oil easy. Um, that would probably serve the purpose, and you could just spend that 500 bucks on like a really sweet oil cooler setup, which I think might be more efficient than just like a big pan. Plus, then you can lower the car as much as you want. So, but yeah, I highly recommend this swap. And let me grab the camera here, and I'll run through and just show kind of like the engine bay, what I've been doing. Like, this was the 370Z tank that I was talking about earlier in the video. I just made some brackets, mounted it up just like the OEMZ setup, and yeah, it's got to just figure out where to put the wiring and stuff like that. But simple things. It's if you have any questions, just let me know. Like, even just looking at the engine bay, there's the I made my own lines for the power steering. for the return and the reservoir and everything like that. Like this is actually a Holden reservoir that I got off of like eBay. But the lines, you can use an LS swap one for the pressure one, and then just the same length. It's 60 inches, so you can just get a high pressure 60-inch line with the right bends on it, and then a chase base drop-in filter, and you're good to go for that and the return. So you don't have to do a super high pressure for the return. You can do a lower pressure. So like my lower pressure, I built it myself and crimped it since it didn't need to be anything crazy. But yeah, I'm probably gonna still add an oil cooler at some point. But overall, I mean, this thing's great. I've taken it to 2 drift events. I've drag raced it. I mean, tons of street driving, tons of street, just getting on it and driving it and running it around town and taking it to the gym, and it's great. I mean, it honestly is super reliable. Drive-by-wire 240, you know. And then there's my ECU board right there that I built. It's got the OBD2 port right there. It goes to my my little Amazon scan gauge that tells me all the readings and everything like that. But yeah, highly recommend it. I eventually want to do a VHR swap in a right-hand drive chassis, because to me that'll be the perfect swap chassis, just because it gets rid of the steering shaft stuff that you have to do. You have to get that slim U joint for this car because it's left-hand drive and the steering shaft is in that way. So you might have to do something different from what I've noticed with the headers on a right-hand drive because of the so you might have to make a custom header potentially, but you could leave all the steering rack stuff alone. So you know, just minor differences, but overall, super sweet setup, new tech in an old car, and reliable 240. So it works for me. Thanks, everybody.